who are on the eGrowth platform. And then subsequently, as he has already said, I need not have to say it again, that he'll be in touch with all of us and eGrowth, and then we'll see how we'll be able to do a collaborative communication in future as well as the business. So I request, I'll just give a brief introduction of Mr. Sanjay Sanghai. He is a Vice President Group Purchase of Endurance Technologies Ltd. He is also a National Council member with Indian Institute of Materials Management, Aurangabad Branch, for the last 5 years. He is having rich experience of 31 years in the field of auto components sourcing. Also, he has worked with Messrs. Piaggio Greaves Ltd for 11 years, Rallies India Ltd for 5 years, and he has undergone training from reputed business schools and written many articles related to supply chain and business excellence. He has also conducted many training programs on supply chain and business excellence. He has also received Lifetime Achievement Award from the Indian Institute of Materials Management. It's a pleasure to welcome Mr. Sanghai this week for the eGrowth Experts Talk. In this expert interaction, he will speak on strategies executed by auto component industry pre and post COVID-19. As we are all aware that during last 1.5 years, individually everybody has suffered to one or the other side. Out of that, what his experience of coming out of that kind of situations, it will be definitely useful to all of us. So thank you very much, Sanjay sir, and welcome to all again. And I'll hand over this session to Sanjay sir for going ahead. The platform is yours now.
Thank you, Mr. Paul, and thank you all. I will just first share my presentation and then I will start. So I hope screen sharing is given.
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah, I think now it is clear.
Absolutely clear. Please go ahead.
Hello, everyone, and good evening. First of all, I would like to express my sincere thanks to eGrowth platform dignitaries and everyone on the web for sparing their time to give me opportunity to share my experience. As explained by Mr. Paul, the subject for today's discussion is strategies executed by auto component industry pre and post COVID. The strategies has been executed by everyone, every industry. We'll briefly go into the details today on the pre-COVID situation, the market situation, then auto industry challenges faced, and then the strategies used as a corrective measures by auto industry, and then way forward. So this will try to cover in next 40 to 45 minutes, and then we'll have a question and answer as per the organization. So let us have a look at the pandemic spread. I will not explain much about the pandemic spread, but just brief background to have set a context. First, the outbreak has started in the China, and the material stopped coming from the China, and we started facing the shortage. And then we came to know that there is a virus and which is spreading, and the Chinese industry is not able to operate, and that started creating shortage in India in the second half of the 1920, and we were facing the shortage. No one was dreaming in India that this will come to India, and Indian industry also will get affected, and auto industry also will get badly affected because of this outbreak. And exactly at that time, because the goods was not coming from the China, the industry was preparing to work as a China substitute as additional volumes and trying to grab that business also. And everybody was having a big plans, big growth plans, and everybody were budgeting for the expansion and the investment to meet those plans. So this was the situation at 1920 end, and Indian auto industry was trying to invest and just get the growth of around 11% GDP, which was forecasted at the beginning of that. But as per the law of forecast, that every forecast is always wrong. It has happened, and the outbreak has started in India. And the first 3 months, everybody of us know that auto industry were totally uncertain. There were no supplies, there were no manufacturing was running. And the first quarter of the 2021, there was almost production was equal to nil, or operations were equal to nil, and nothing was operating. There were lockdowns and zone-wise controls all there. This has continued for the first quarter, but second quarter, the corrective measures were in place by the government. We are also overcoming with the situation, and safety was introduced, and the market was dried out and the demand has started, and then industry has started operating with the controls. So this is the background of the pandemic. What worstly affected by the pandemic was the supply chain, and what new was in the pandemic was the safety measures. Everybody was new to this sanitization in Indian industry, the thermal scanning, the COVID treatment and isolation centers, physical distancing, hygiene at the workplace, and other safety measures were need to be introduced by the industry. And industry has started feeling the need for building the resilience to all this and come out of this through. So resilience building process has started. But today we try to cover this, that what was the situation and how resilience has been built and how way forward the industry has come out as a competitive one from the pandemic. The global situation was totally uncertain. The demand was uncertain. The industry was not knowing what will be the demand and how it is to be fulfilled. Even if demand is there, whether labor is there and production will be there, and uh, logistics will be available. So that was the situation globally, because the pandemic has started from China, started spreading everywhere. By the time it spread in India, the rest of the world also was undergoing this situation, and demand was dropped down and demand was uncertain. The market dynamics was going hand in hand with the situation, and the consumer behavior was that let us postpone whatever we are buying, let us protect the cash in and watch the situation. Whatever the needs are there, those were postponed, and the consumer behavior was that whatever we can, no, we can postpone, let us postpone. So all the capital goods buying, the auto, two-wheeler buying and four-wheeler buying was postponed by the consumers, and the market demand was slow down in the first quarter of the 2021 when the outbreak has started. The industry, as I explained to you, it was planning for the expansion. The 11% GDP growth was expected. The China in additional orders were expected. Everybody was uh, planning to expand prevailing practices, having a multi-locational presence, increasing the manpower, increasing the machines, having the expansion plans were in place, and all budgets were made for expansion and meeting this demand. And from there, suddenly it has come to a no demand situation. So there was a 180-degree tilt from the industry, from prevailing practice to what to do. That we discuss what are the best practices industry has done. While going through this process, the industry has failed to build the agility and build the resilience, because nobody was knowing that how long this pandemic will be, how it will behave in different corner of the country and the world. So resilience building only was required. So work with safety condition and slowly come out of the normal manufacturing as the next normal that was planned by the industry. So everybody was trying to overcome the challenges, and the business model was reviewed. The agility was started building, and everybody started reviewing what is the production, what is the output, and how the profitability can be maintained, how survival can be done, and then how we can learn out of this pandemic and take to the next level to the entire industry. The Along with the pandemic spread, there were other challenges also came into the auto industry. The labor unavailability of the one of the challenges to start with, but the another challenge immediately faced in quarter two and quarter three was increasing prices of the raw material. It has never happened in the past. The steel prices were shoot up from rupees 42 to rupees 80 right now, or even at the market 90 rupees. So it is 100% increase in steel has been experienced by the people. Similarly, aluminum prices also has been increased by almost 40 to 50%, and the entire process was not in place. Whether this will be addressed by the OEMs, whether OEM will give, what OEM will give. So auto industry was total in confusion situation. What is to be done? One is labor cost is increasing, the material cost is increasing, the cost of output increasing, and corrective measures are required. So we'll see how the corrective measures are done. But let us have a look at auto component industry position. These are the five forces by Michael Porter. At the center is the auto component. Just to set the context, I have put this slide because if you look this at the center, there is the auto component industry. There are raw material suppliers. In case of auto industry, the raw material suppliers are very big, like Jindal, Tata, and all. They are the steel producers, so they got their own holding. They got a choice to whom to them to supply. So this right. So the other side of it, there are big buyers, and they are having a share of business fixed with this. And if any change or any failure by any auto component industry, they got choice to increase the share of other person. So industry was facing very high challenges, and already their position was such that all forces were active and operating with the more challenging nature. the potential entrants were ready to enter, and they were also looking for the opportunity. Which, if somebody is not able to supply, can I get an entry? Can I get a vendor code? So like that competition was felt by existing industry. Even the substitute product also were entering, and at the same time the electric vehicle also was in discussion, and the scooter and motorcycle, as you know, in India, everybody was expecting that the scooter will go up, but suddenly motorcycle has gone up. So these type of challenges auto industry is facing. The industrial position is that all the five forces they are operating on the industry, and they have to deal with it, the challenges, by finding its own way. How industry has done well and come up on these all forces, we'll see in the uh, our discussion in the next. Now coming back to the pandemic and its impact, how industry, what impacts and what corrective measures we'll explain today. As I explained, the industry has prepared for the higher GDP, higher growth, and reduction of, and the additional value from the China. And there was sudden impact that reduced demand is there. The all investment done, expansion done, were having ROI question mark, whether return on investment will be there, but interest need to be borne because decisions were already taken. So what industry has done, we'll see this impact, how they are doing the corrective action. The another impact, as I explained to you, was consumer behavior. Consumer behavior was suddenly become uncertain. The consumer has started postponing the decision, and even if availability of goods is there, the demand is there, but consumer was not buying. The market sentiment has come into there. Now this pandemic will be very high, and maybe the unemployment will be there. The cash will be vanished from the system, and let us protect the cash in hand, and let us not buy the unnecessary things. So that's what the consumer was behaving. The industry uncertainty was there, because what to produce and what not to produce, that also was a issue. So industry was having the uncertainty on their itself. The auto OEM were having spare capacity of 40 to 70%. Each auto component OEM, they were shutting down, and suddenly they were closing, suddenly they were changing their program, and that was putting auto industry into underutilization of capacities to the 40%. It's like capacity was 100%, expansion was planned from going to 100 to 120% as the additional capacity, and utilization has come to 40%. You all expert know what will happen to the PNL, what will happen to the EBITDA, what will happen to the profit margin, and how industry can survive at the 40% capacity utilization. So these are the major impact on that. But there were other impacts also, like loss on account of fixed costs, because whatever fixed cost is fixed cost, and that need to be borne. We don't know how long this pandemic is going to be, and how long we have to control the operations. So whatever required is required and need to be continued. If I would like to take an example of like uh, special processes where the surface treatments are done in automobile industry. The tanks are full with the chemical, but those chemicals need to be replaced after a certain period. If they are not used, the contamination will happen. So all those fixed costs and obsolescence costs was coming into the picture because of the pandemic. The inventory carrying cost and obsolescence cost was very much observed by the auto industry, but how they are overcome on the inventory, that we'll see. In general practice, the auto component industry works with the 9 days inventory to 12 days inventory, and the inventory is for 3 days inward, 3 days WIP, and 3 days finished goods. That is the minimum requirement of the customer they operate. Few customers ask for the more finished goods inventory, depend upon the individual agreement. But this inventory suddenly has become as a cost, and the norms required to be changed. So industry has come with the corrective action. Because of the pandemic, the material availability also was the issue, and making goods more available to the supplier. The corrective measure taken by the successful industry was that they have increased their industry inventory in the industry. So whatever the finished goods are 3 days, they have made into the 10 days. The WIP they have reduced, and the finished goods has been increased from 3 days to 15 days, and asked supplier also to increase their raw material inventories. And that has benefited to the industry, because raw material rates have been shoot up, as I explained to you earlier. So inventory carrying cost was lesser than the moving average price of the inventory and the cost of the material in hand. So changing the inventory policy was one of the corrective measures taken by the auto industry, and that has helped the industry, and that is also now helping, because service level is maintained, the competitiveness is maintained, and the logistic delays and the other delays are accommodated to maintain the service level by the industry. So the few other impacts were zero return on investment, has been made. The all investment decision required to be postponed. All the orders need to be either postponed or cancelled. The request to the capital suppliers. Each investment need to be reviewed from the capacity point of view and when it is required. The entire budget was made for 12 months that need to be changed to the 9 months. So industry has done the second corrective action after inventory was that they have corrected their budget from 12 months of a total financial year to the 9 months, because 9 months there was some forecast was there. After the 3 months, the government was correcting their measures. Some operations were allowed with some certain controls, and industry was feeling the demand, and demand has shoot up in the Q2 and again in the Q3. So the as per that, the budgeted expenses were controlled, and the budget has been reviewed and controlled for the 9 months only, from 12 months to 9 months. This was the second corrective action has been done. The major challenge was faced on the skilled labor, because labor has migrated from all the places from where they are working to their native places, and because of the pandemic fear and their own safety and the working condition and the not having a work in hand, the labor has started going back to their thing, and this has impacted a lot. But this has overcome by the auto industry by focusing on the training, getting the labor, and building the resilience, as a giving confidence to the labor that come, we are going to run. Even if we don't have job, we will make your payments. Your safety is our safety, and we'll ensure that you are safe all the time. With that, the labor has started migrating back with this corrective action. So third corrective action after inventory, investment, budget, and all that, maintaining the labor, building the resilience by giving the training to the people and giving the confidence to the labor, driving the fear of pandemic of the labor, maintaining the safety measures of social distancing and the additional measures. Many industries has done the stage-wise isolation so that two-person will not in contact. There was timing between two shifts were extended as a gap to desanitize the work, and many other corrective measures related to safety each industry has taken to safeguard their people and see that the society is safe and pandemic is not spread. Uh, the next impact was on losses on account of the interest and taxes. The industry has gone back to the bankers, government, and also to the customer to revise the rate and what are the possible corrective measure on that. The delay of the EMI and all that has been got by the industry, and the interest rate has been to the certain extent has been reduced. But awareness was to be created and assurance was to be given that yes, he will come out of the problem and will pay back, but this time we need a help. And the banks and government and the financiers has definitely deferred the EMIs. We know, we all have seen the news. Then there was another major impact was there. As I said, the pandemic was throughout the world. It has started from the China, then spread entire Asia, they come to the India and Europe and the other part, US and all. The consignment started delayed because transport was restricted. Ships were not moving. The consignment delayed for the 3 to 4 weeks, and this delay in import clearances has given the lot of shortages on the specific raw materials. The industry has to work as a challenge on that. So they have to locate the material within India where it is unused and look for the alternate material. But entire auto industry has understood the problem of the auto component industry, and OEM has given the solution. They have approved the alternate sources and alternate materials, and as per the availability, they also help to ship the material from one place to other place for balancing the inventories and balancing the requirement. Although visibility for a month or 2 months or 3 months was not there, visibility for the week has been done, and the imported material has been shifted with the help of OEMs and the approve of the alternate material. So that corrective action has been done, and this delayed was substituted to the certain extent, but still it has affected to the auto industry because of the pandemic spread globally. The next major impact was this auto component industry is a tier 2 and tier 3, and they don't have the IT structure to the extent it has to be for working from the home. And the working from home was the need of a time, because everybody can't come to the factory. There are government restriction of certain percentage of limited manpower as per the zone mapping. Many people who can work from the home, they are ready to work, they were at home, but infrastructure was not available, providing a laptop, system connectivity, system safety, and the again the global problem of the cyber attacks from the rest of the world were also suffered. You know, Honda has suffered, Honda car has suffered because of the cyber. The many small industries have suffered because of the cyber attack. and also the availability and infrastructure readiness was not there. Industry has learned that this is required from a long time, and within the 3 months, auto component industry has become an expert in working from the home, not equal to the IT industry, but at least 80% level of the IT industry where come. I myself working many days. Last 1 month I work from the home, and now after situation is normal, I'm going to the uh, office now, and many of my colleagues also working from the home. So this challenge also industry has overcome. Auto component industry now almost all white collar job except the shop floor workers. Other workforce is able to work from the home. And one of the example I would like to give it today, we are connected on the web. So I am addressing this seminar from the home. So all the Indian institutes and the firms, they also learn this and they accepted this as a challenge. And today's seminar is happening. We all are at distance. We have completed our work today and attending this seminar. So this challenge, we as a society and India, we have overcome this challenge along with the auto component industry. I hope I am clear and everybody is in line. Now the next problem was that budget and budgetary controls, what to do, because I said 9 month budget has to be done. But what are the base for the new financial projection? What is forecast? So for that, everybody has to work with the customer, take the customer's input, and the new financial projections required to be worked out. The industry has faced the ROI problem. Industry has faced the problem of cash to cash cycle. Industry has faced the problem of cash availability. So protect cash. That was one of the corrective measures. So we are coming to the fifth corrective measure of the auto industry. This is the protect cash. So see that cash is available, necessary for the operations, salaries, and all other. So always see that inflow is there and then outflow happens. Wherever the credit period required to be extended, work with the supplier. Wherever credit period, the revenue need to be put fast. Work with the customer for either discounting of the payment or getting payment earlier. So the corrective measure for the cash was ask suppliers to extend the credit period by at least 15 days. And the corrective measure other side was ask customer to pay at least 15 days before, discount or lower than the bank, or ask bank to increase the credit limit so that cash can be made available. So protect cash flow was one of the corrective measure auto industry has used to the very well, and this has helped them to come out of the situation, making the cash available for the necessary expenses at lower cost and lower interest, and the interest has been saved. The moving forward in the budget and budgetary, the expenses were required for the certain expenses like getting resilient. So introducing safety measures. I don't know, one of the safety measure was that 50% or for 30% of people coming to the industry, they should come for the work in a bus where the 30% occupancy only will be there. So that has increased the cost. So this type of corrective measure and expenses were required by industry to overcome the rules and regulation and adhere to the safety measures. So those investments were need to be done to get the resilience in the system. So those industry has understood very well, and industry has done those expenses. This is the seventh corrective measure and very important corrective measure auto industry has done, that whatever the expenses required for the safety of the people and the safety of the society, that has been done by the auto industry. If you go to the any company, smallest company in our industry area or anywhere we used to go, they were having the thermal scanning, the uh, the safety precautions were done, the social distancing or physical distancing was very well maintained, the sanitization or workforce was there. There was a safety officer in the every company was there. The government people were coming and also were auditing, and the some of the companies, they have sponsored the COVID isolation centers and COVID treatment centers, and also contributed to the COVID treatment. So the industry has come out to support the society and help the society in the interest of society, interest of the nation, and interest of the workforce. Uh, to coming out from the problem, facing our own challenges, the industry has felt the need of safety measures and investments has done on priority by each industry. So this is one of the good corrective measure, and the real usage of the finance has been done by the industry. Now, the industry was feeling the need to build the resilience, and we'll go through the resilience building process, how it has been done. So we'll add more and more corrective measures. I'll try to share. The, as you know, in the auto component industry, generally the cost breakup is available for each part with OEM. The there are the raw material cost, there is the process cost, and there is the total cost, and component cost and raw material cost have been reviewed every quarter and addressed. But in this pandemic, there was no logic. Any material was going at any cost. The logistic costs were very high. Labor costs also very high. Even the labor calling back migrated labor, the special vehicles need to be sent. The small companies, they are sent the special vehicle like Innova or buses to pick up the labor back, and the cost has been borne by the industry. Even labor has been given the 1 month advance salary to come back by the industry. Their staying arrangement and fooding arrangement were done inside the industry or nearby by the industry. And as I explained to you, the coming cost to the industry for the labor by the buses and all like that, there are many other costs were addition. Even the logistic drivers were not available, the vehicles were not available, special vehicles required to be done. And in addition to that, there were regional problems, the regional lockdowns, the red zone, orange zone, the vehicles were not allowed. Even doing air freight was costly, and the airports were not operating, and that was also taking delayed. So logistic costs also added. So material cost is added, labor cost is added, logistic cost is added, and OEs were not in position to address or listen, or there was no person. So the industry has to calculate. The auto industry has to look at their own profit. The profit was forgotten, and only the survival was forgotten. How to run the operation, how to come out with the optimum and keep running and create a confidence with the labor and create a confidence with the customer. That was the prime focus. The prime focus was getting labor back. The prime focus was maintaining quality. The prime focus was maintaining the cost. And the last focus was maintaining the profit, how we can maintain. But OEMs has understood these problems, and to the certain extent, they are tried to answer these problems and answer these challenges to the some extent of their capability. And these problems were listened by the OEM, and OEMs has addressed this problem in the next quarter when they have been transparently explained to the OEM. But this has created a need to build the resilience that in this situation, how to survive, how to protect the profit, and how to reduce the cost. And long-term learning has come into the picture, which has been benefited auto industry, which will see going further what auto industry has benefited out of the pandemic learnings. That also we'll see. If we look at the resilience building process, it was very important. The resilience building was required. If we fear about the pandemic and the manufacturing doesn't run, then entire society will be a problem. It's my question to all of you. If there is unemployment and nobody is going to the work, will society flourish? Definitely answer is no. Everybody is required to go to the work. Everybody is required to get their employment and the return on the employment and their money monthly basis, and they are also going to spend. The society need industry to run. So industry need to build the resilience and take care of the society. It was in the mutual interest. So global pandemic situation has been understood very well to build the resilience. As I'm explaining you what are the corrective action. So any response comes, the counter response from the auto industry was there for that challenge, and industry has built a long-term solution on that. The market dynamics have been understood very well by closely working with the customer and understanding the need of the customer, building the relation with the customer, and transparently sharing the availability with the customer and taking help of the customer. I have come across certain cases wherein the customers, they have allowed these tier 2 and tier 3 workers to come and have a lunch in their canteen. They have allowed to come through their buses. They have sent their person for the maintenance at the supplier end, and maintenance person not available to sustain the maintenance of the machine and running of the machines. And in the interest of both, that supplier should survive, I will survive. So the auto industry will survive, and the OEM also will survive. So this has given the inputs for building the agility and going further, building the competence. The agility building has started, and resilience building has started as a process. Although I said no strategy was firm, the strategy started evolving, and the strategy got evolved through the learnings of the industry, through these challenges. The whatever has been learned, put as a part of the strategy, the every action has been documented and sustained, and that documented action has given the business model new look, and new business model has been formed by the auto industry by learning of the COVID. So we'll see what are the models and how they are being run, and how profit optimization has been done by the industry in next half an hour, and the resilience, how it has been built and sustained. Now, before building the resilience and taking the input for the resilience building, every industry, auto industry, there are many commodities. Like there are proprietary, there are sheet metal part, there are pressure die casting, there are gravity die casting, there are electronics, electronic. Then there are the imported parts, and the auto industry has got variety of part and the variety of commodities. But every supplier has got a uniqueness, and that uniqueness need to be sustained as a core competency. So while building the resilience, it was very much necessary to understand the uniqueness. But uniqueness has changed in the pandemic, because whatever the uniqueness was there earlier, that uniqueness changed from these certain competencies, because whatever was smoothly available was not available. So suddenly, whatever available as the outside supplier, but if it is not available, that has to be bring in house. So all those actions auto industry required to do while building the resilience. Then what does need to be improved, that was in earlier budget was there, but in new budget of 9 months, that entire need to be changed. The few people have tried to do the mistake of making organization structure lean. Actually, now those companies are suffering greatly. Manpower is not available. So the organization structure, in fact, the people were need to be groomed, people were need to be trained. The people intelligence is required to come out of the situation. Finally, it is the team and people, they will come out of the situation, and people are required whenever there is a market is going to grow. If once the person goes, the getting a new person and getting the output is a problem in auto industry. The creating skill takes a long time. So the maintaining the manpower and training the manpower was one of the core area of resilience building process. And those industry, they have maintained their manpower. Many industry, they are not gone for the salary cut. Even they have given the many support to the families of the persons and to the society. So that has really given the good corrective measure for the coming out of the pandemic. So all these activities, what I listed here, they were required for building the resilience as a process. The main issue was like training the people, because people have been migrated and people were new. Uh, I will explain you the case of auto industry where the gravity casting is required to be done. It is very critical process. In gravity casting, if person is new, he will not able to handle the material, because material is at very high temperature, molten material that need to be poured in the die need to be set and all. So the training of the people was the first task. The training of the supplier also task, because suppliers also were new to the position. The supplier were not knowing the pandemic, and supplier were not knowing how to give a response and what is to be done. Certain decisions in auto industry, they are taken as per the SOPs. We have a standard operating procedure available in auto component industry, and authority matrix is decided. But if that authority is not there and not giving the decision in pandemic, because in the interest of business, those decisions required to be taken. Because if a person come to know at the night 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, now the vehicle is not going to move, he has to move the material by air, or he has to see by alternate means what has to be done. So that decision that person has to take, whether he's authorized or not authorized, he has to first take the decision and then inform. So training supplier for decision, quick decision making was required. Training supplier for safety also was required. The training related to safety at the supplier end, yeah, they go to the tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 was very much required, and the awareness need to be created. Here, auto industry has definitely done the training to their tier 2s and tier 3 very well. I would like to give an example. When we enter the flight, every time we are not new, many times we have gone in the flight, but the safety instructions are given. So like that, in the auto industry, when you wish to go to work and at our office, first 5 to 10 minutes, we have to go through the entire process. So this has happened in entire auto industry. Like there was thermal scanning, there was use of shield, there was either updation of the health status on the apps or through form, but giving your health status continuously, and how many people are at work. That report used to come from all the suppliers to the second tier, and from second tier to third tier. Like here example, from our suppliers of endurance to endurance, and endurance, how many people are there, that you used to inform to the our OEMs, all Bajaj Auto and all people. So this training to the supplier required to be given. The formats were given in that, how many people required, how many people are available today inside the plant, how many people will be coming tomorrow, or what arrangement has been made, and how these safety measures have been introduced. Those all evidences need to be shared, and all those training required to the suppliers. The next important point, And the corrective measure by the auto industry was understanding the gap, meeting the customer expectation, the focusing on quality and output on the changing plans and changing model as per the market requirement that was required. There were gaps, although everybody wanted to do, but because of the limitation and gaps, they were not able to do. Like I said, vehicle has started but don't know where it will be stopped, whether it is coming through a red zone, whether the driver will be available, or whether driver will come knows the place because driver is a new. So vehicle has come in the industry area, but he don't know the place. Even if we are digitally having all those things, but these problems are faced by the industry. So understanding the gaps and accordingly giving the corrective measure. So every time the persons has to be alert and inform and taking the help, seeking the help, and also give the information so that next corrective action can be done. If this is not available, what can be made available? So this is the gap. How I can work on the gap on my own as a industry, auto compound industry. Can I take an input from my supplier? Can I take an input from my customer? Can I take an input from the government? So all those things were required. The seeking help for the continuous process during the pandemic, and this has helped the industry. So the 10th corrective measure industry has done. The industry has accepted the gaps. Industry has transparently shared the gaps, and everybody has helped the auto industry to come out of these challenges. So this has helped the industry to a lot of extent. The customer has given a lot of help to overcome the gaps by the auto component manufacturer. The overcoming this and the next resilience building process, the input used by the auto industry was having a diversity. So making the maximum location so that one location has got a red zone, the other location can be at the orange zone or green zone. If something come as output from one area, the other input comes. So diversity has been maintained. The supplies of same material has been brought from one or two alternative locations, alternative industry, alternative uh, materials. As I said, the OEMs has approved. So while resilience building, the single sourcing has been converted into the multiple sourcing. The globalization has been done into the localization. So all this diversity has been bring into the process. This was the 11th corrective measure done by the industry to uh, overcome the pandemic challenges. And now the China dependence has been reduced from 80% to 30%. So 50% is a great measure. This is the auto industry figures. They will differ industry to industry, but the import has been definitely reduced to the great extent by doing the localization, and that has created a new market at our local place. And the resilience building process has been sustained for a long term now. Now we are prepared for the second wave better. In second wave, we are not depending upon the import of the material, but locally material has been made available. Uh, the next, the resilience building process was the data creation and data sharing. As I said, we are not up to the mark like IT industry. The auto industry has become very good in data creation and analysis during this pandemic. As transparency shared, the input has come from the customer, the synchronization has been done, and many things have been simplified. The making complex thing into the simple thing was one of the point which has been learned by the auto industry. This is the 12th corrective measure, that making things simple and coming from the complex situations to get into the simple and make it as a strategy and introduce, share the data. The data sharing has been introduced. Even the data has been shared with the competitor or similar part manufacturer to help each other in the interest of the OEMs. That has been done. The cooperate and compete to cooperate has been introduced in the auto industry very well. There are many cases in the Mahindra or Bajaj, and that competition person has gone to the competitor and helped to get that part, so that everybody runs. Because one vehicle has got multiple parts, like a motorcycle has got say 100 parts. If one part doesn't go, the 99 parts are not useful. So the entire industrial society has to take care that one part which is failing, let us help him and come out of that one part so that 99 becomes 100 and parts are produced. So this has been also help auto industry to build a resilience, and that resilience has been built. The relation built with the within the industry that are helping auto industry now to further accept the challenges of the pandemic wave, and the problems earlier faced were not faced now by the industry because the resilience building has started and resilience has been sustained. The culture across the industry has been changed. Everybody is trying to help everybody. Everybody is trying to understand each other's problem, and everybody sharing the solutions what they are implemented. Like today, I am sharing the some of the uh, implementation done by the auto industry to with all of you, like that everybody is sharing the corrective measures, and those corrective measures, if useful, they are implemented by the industry. There is a cultural change has happened across the industry, and the people are more towards the helping each other and helping the society and helping the OEM, helping the economy to grow and come out of the crisis. That has been the uh, one of the point for resilience building has been identified. And this is the 13th major auto industry has done, that there is a cultural change in the auto industry due to pandemic has happened, and the industry has come out of the problem to the great extent. The synchronized planning is one of the input used by the industry. So all the customers are giving the plan in advance. Even the all customers, OEMs, they are taking into the consideration the problems of auto industry about the availability of the raw material and the easiness to produce. The synchronized planning has been done. Even the running of the factories, holiday shift has been done synchronized way, that we are going to run for the 4 days, you also run for the 4 days or 5 days, but one day you can have additional off other than your weekly off. So that has been done with the OEMs very well, and the information has been shared for the planning purpose by OEMs to the auto uh, component manufacturer and auto component manufacturer to their tier 2s and tier 3 across the industry. Then automations and digitization also has been given as a learning. Many places we are seeing now the camera inspection has been introduced. The many places we have seen that the safety measures all recorded through the system and data is available on a dashboard. The alternate ways of the using energy and those have been shared and put in the place. The inventory control and buffer management norms has been very well set, and the customer has taken into the consideration that yes, you keep this much inventory. Even if there is a new model introduction, we will consider before obsolescence this much you stock in place. So that has been very well done. The buffer level by this auto industry itself, they have been shared with the OEMs, and those have been maintained. Like Honda used to maintain say 5 days stock, now Honda is maintaining the 10 days stock. Uh, uh, and that has been taken. So the plan has been shared, the inventory plan has been shared, the buffer management has been shared, and that has been maintained and that has been supported. And whatever the buffer has been increased by a number of days, the payment term relaxation has been done by that many days as a counter action by the industry, so that the working capital remains in flow and the industry is able to pay their raw material supplies and labor and cash is available. So that has also taken as a one of the major input by the industry. Then logistic is one of the important area, because if logistic doesn't perform, the supply chain is incomplete. As you know, in the supply chain, the weakest link will decide the strength. The logistic person training, availability, and building his confidence are the major job during the COVID and now also. So we have to create a confidence with all those drivers and logistic providers, and we have to train them. When vehicle comes in, we have to sanitize the vehicle. We have to provide a sanitizer. We have to provide a mask to the driver if his mask is already used and he has thrown out. So all those help are given. If we have made the food arrangement, auto industry, they have made the fooding arrangement of the logistic suppliers, drivers, and even the staying arrangement, overnight staying arrangement has been help the drivers to come inside and the take a rest, and also all those arrangement auto industry has done as a resilience building process. So the in layout itself now the industry learning is that there has to be a free space available if such situation comes. If you have to put the labor inside or we require a space, the industry has started using the vertical space more and making the space free, and use that space for the better safety and better usage for the workmans. So that has been one of the learning has come as a input. And as I said, there is no compromise on quality in auto component industry. Even if we go and buy a vehicle, definitely we want vehicle to perform better than the earlier available vehicles in the market. We always look for a longer warranty and better performance. The focus on quality was required. Although challenges were there of new labor, handling the new machine, new system, the new people in the logistics, packaging and all, the focus on quality was required, and to focus more, even if the person is new, even his material is new, how to do that. Those all input has taken to build the resilience by auto component industry. So focus on quality with changing situation and doing the change management fast. That is the another learning has come. This is the almost 15th corrective action auto component industry has learned, that changing fast, managing the change fast, and giving clearances fast and see that the system runs and supply chain runs. So while making everything available, not compromise on the quality and performance. So that was the learning. The earlier, the validation, testing, and approval used to take a long time, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, and 18 weeks. The same test and approvals have been given comparatively very lesser time by the auto component OEM to their suppliers, and this has helped in building the resilience. The, the attention to the network was very much required. The globalization, I already discussed that regionalization was one of the corrective measure has been taken. The implementation of alternative source has been happened to overcome the single source problem. The how to adopt the good practices from the OEM that has been shared by the OEMs, and those practices have been shared. The many industries implemented whatever the OEMs are following for the inspection and the uh, other controls of the production and improving OE. The maintenance purpose and all the OEMs has helped to sending the person and maintaining the machine and all, and the data collection from the machine, the industry 4.0, how the OEMs are doing at there in those companies' name and introduction has been done, and many companies have implemented the machine runnings uh, dashboards and energy savings from the OEMs and the sustainable measures from the OEMs during the COVID period. Then work on improving connectivity. I have explained that visibility across the network is required. The supply chain, what is available and what is passed on, it is required. In auto industry, the supply chain, they operate like a musician's orchestra. That you have to do your part, give a smile, appreciate, and pass on to the next, and let us make all the customer happy. While you are performing, you have to make others to perform and see that he is ready, then pass on. So entire supply chain has to be vigilant. So the one member should know the what stage other member is and how he'll pass on to the third member, and third member has to be ready. The entire supply chain visibility has to be there. So that visibility has become very effective and efficient in automobile industry. During this pandemic, an entire industry has become lean. The supply chains were becoming more responsive. The supply chains were become more efficient than earlier one. And this supply chain partners, they have come with various alternatives which were not thought. The digitization has happened very fast across the supply chain, and the visual controls has come into the place. All the audits are happen now on the visual platform. Nobody is visiting supplier, but audits are happening. So this is the learning that nobody need to go travel, but audit can be performed. This is one of the learning that the transport cost and the travel cost has come to the almost zero in the auto component industry, but still the functions are performed and the purpose has been done. So this is a 16th or 17th learning that without person visiting, audits can be done, the review can be done, evaluation can be done, and the situation can be updated and ensured. So this entire industry has learned this technique. Now there are virtual audits only going on virtual basis, suppliers are approved, virtual basis processes are approved, and those virtual approvals are sustained and maintained and giving the required quality. So this is good learning has come through the pandemic. Now we have seen that how resilience building is done and what is required. But let us see into the detail how resilience building is done. I try to take a common example here that any company you take, it has got input, throughput, and output because we all are a process industry and we are adding value to the product. Finally, product has been sold by somebody. So value addition is done by each level. But every value addition stage has got a soft side of the management and hard side of the management. The resilience building process is required at the soft side of the management and the hard side of the management, all the elements. So material, as I said, ki alternate material availability and stock, that was the resilience building process. Equipment, running of the equipment, maintenance of the equipment, looking at the investment and cost of investment and return over, or the resilience building process part for the equipment. So that has been done. Then people training part we have discussed. The method part, the systems were improved and the systems are integrated. As I said, ki SOPs were reviewed and even the SOPs are shortened by auto industry and the authority matrices have been changed. The system adherence has been done as a resilience building process. As I said, ki there was focus on quality and there was no compromise. Change management process has been enhanced. So soft side of the management also has been expedited and it is shortened. It has shortened the lead time. And while doing so, the industry has taken care of the safety and the environment, and the resilience has been built in the process while taking care of the environment, because as I said, the safety measures need to be introduced everywhere. Sanitization was required, and the control measures were in the place, and government also was auditing. And in the interest of people, also we are very keen to do that. So, soft side of the management resilience building process has been happened, and hard side of the you know the management, the resilience building has happened in the auto component industry. We have discussed around 17 to 18 corrective measures. We'll see further more what are the learning and corrective measures. As I said, in auto industry, there's a supply chain and there are many tiers. So up to, I try to explain here the three tiers. No one can save unless everybody is safe. So this is very well experienced by auto industry during the COVID. So each tier supplier is safe, taking care of the safety. So we used to take a review that how many COVID cases happened, what measures they have done, have they sanitized everything, whether there is a repetitive case, is that area is blocked, whether the persons are getting treatment or they require any help, where they have been put. And OEMs and the tier 2, they have put the many COVID centers and all. So their place has been given to the tier 3s and tier 4s. The isolation also help has been given to the people. And even the people also has been supplied by one industry to other industry just to overcome the bottlenecks. So everyone should be safe, but it is ensured across the supply chain that only one OEM or end customer cannot be safe unless everybody is safe. And those measures were taken for the agility building and the resilience building by the supply. Now I am coming to the core area of the today's discussion, that why facing the challenges by auto industry, how they have protected the margin. We have seen that the sale price is controlled by the OEMs, but other costs were there. But what is in their hand of the industry? This diagram I would like to explain. This is from the Michael Porter, and how industry can increase the margin. This is the guideline. I would like to explain it to all. That firm infrastructure can be modified in a business model. If you are multi-location, you can come to the one location. If you are not using the vertical space, you can use the vertical space. So all those corrective measures related to firm infrastructure has been done. If any safety measures are need to be put, those have been put. So the firms have become agile, as business process engineering is very much required. That has been evolved. Although strategy was not planned for the long term, the results through the actions has helped industry to come out of the corrective measures, and those corrective measures help industry to change their business model and bring the agility and build the resilience inside the industry. Human resource part I already discussed with you. Although the people were new, they have been trained and they have come to the desired output level. They have given the necessary trainings and desired output they were giving. The OE has come to the normal level. Like the production has gone to the 40% of the capacity. The OE also has gone to the level of 60%, but OE is again back to the 80-85% after training of the people. And now the rejections level has been improved. The It is the people, the trained people who have contributed to reduce the block up inventory of rework and all, and there is no rework available now, no rework inventory blocked up. There is no absolute part available, obsolescence is not seen. And the human resource, by training them and deploying them at the same manpower level, industry is able to now absorb the increase in the order, absorb the growth of 120 or 130%. So because of the pandemic, there is a reduction in the manpower automatically has happened to the extent of 80%, because 80% manpower is only back. But orders are back from 100 to 120%, and same manpower is now performing that work. So you can see how human resource is now useful and how we are getting a efficient output in auto industry. That reduced manpower is giving the desired output or required output, and the companies have become a lean, and with the lesser manpower they are able to operate. The technology part we need not to discuss. You all are expert and you know your area. It is a process approach in the auto industry, that result through process only can be produced. And as you control more and more the process will perform and result will come. And as long as you deploy the technology, the output will increase and quality will improve. So depending upon the industry, you can replace the old machine, put the new technology, and you can improve your margins. The procurement part we will discuss into detail, how procurement also help industry to increase the margin. Inbound logistic operations, outbound logistic, and marketing and sales. those areas also help industry to increase their margin. Like marketing has made more awareness of the cost to the customer, transparently share the data, customer has changed and the costing has been changed. The changing prices of steel and aluminum, what I discussed during the opening of this today's discussion, partly they have been understood and to the certain extent definitely addressed by the OEMs because of the marketing efforts and transparently sharing the data to the customer. The customer has become aware and customer also has given the input and tie up with the uh, raw material manufacturer, and those prices were addressed. Even the labor costs also addressed to the certain extent. The additional logistic costs also has been addressed to the certain extent temporarily as a countermeasure for a limited period. And the services part, you can have different services and output of those services. But as I said, the operating from the distance has given a lot of saving because you need not to come to the office, so your transport is saved. You need not to travel, your expenses are saved. You need not to come every day to the office, occupy the space and electricity and the other perks. So that has saved. So the services working from a distance has definitely improved the margin. The travel cost is one of the major costs. You can apply this Michael Porter's analysis to your industry and give target to your team to improve upon the infrastructure cost, human resource cost, technological development. We at eGrowth platform, definitely our experts during the talk or you connect will try to help, I think, all the people, and we should use this platform to save the additional cost and the waste happening in the industry. We should follow the law of nature that nothing is waste. The output of the one system or the waste of the one system is used as the input to the other system. So I think for the better sustainability, better effectivity and efficiency, the e-growth platform definitely can help the industry by sharing the experiences like what we are sharing today. And they can look at each area and each area expert can help in that particular area. I'm not expert on all the area, but I am sharing, yes, definitely this can be done. So moving further and looking at the time, we'll run through the uh, resilience building process and how the business process engineering has been done and business model has been changed by the auto component industry during the pandemic. Uh, the business model has been innovated. Something which was not outsourced has been outsourced. Like the component industry used to get the castings only, but looking at the constraint and the requirement, the machining has been outsourced, the surface treatment has been outsourced, and this is the additional business to the tier two supplier. So this has given a growth, and they also could able to do because partly they also outsource non-core activity. Then there are management innovations like customer is contributing to your investment or supporting your investment. That has happened in the auto component industry. The technological innovations, the sensor control, industry 4.0 measures, they have been shared by the OEMs. Uh, the SAF HANA has come with many good uh, additional features that has been shared by OEM with the auto component industry. Those controls are able to implement the robotic process automation in place where repetitive work has been done, not necessary to be done by the person, but RPA can be applied. So those implementation has been shared by auto OEMs like reconciliation of the subcontractor accounts that can be done by the RPA. The account reconciliation can be done by RPA. So the salary roles can be done by the RPA. All those things have been learned and people are implementing it. The most and major benefit auto industry has got as a business model is the throughput time reduction. As I said, WIP is vanished. There are either finished goods or there is a raw material. The, where the 3 days raw material used to be there, 15 days raw material is there, but where 3 to 6 days WIP is there, there is now no WIP, but finished goods has been changed from 3 days to 10 days. So throughput time has been introduced, and the for customers each line there is a supporting line has been built by the auto industry, auto component industry, to reduce the throughput time, and that has helped industry to work on a better cash to cash cycle and further reducing of the inventory which is getting stuck in WIP. So that business model of reducing throughput time has been helped to a great extent. The operational innovations have been uh, done in auto industry. The simulation has been practiced. Like any die design is simulated. The die flow analysis has been simulated. I explained you about gravity die casting process. The before making the die, the simulation has been done and the workflow, the how metal flows that has been done, and the probable problems and cause how they have been earlier uh, corrective measures have been done. Those corrective measures have been implemented. The auto OEMs has shared their softwares for with component industry how this has to be done. Their validation process has been shared. The validation instead of OEMs place, they have started taking place at the uh, auto component place itself, and the validation report has been accepted. So this is a great step. So this is additional corrective measure. Pandemic has given that validation can be done at the supplier end itself, and that has been accepted by the OEM, and OEM will not repeat the validation unless feel necessary. And on the basis of the validation report, they started accepting that and using that. So that validation also has been started at the component manufacturer end, that is giving lot of learnings and input to the component manufacturer to overcome its process measures. That is the additional help this business model is giving. The next business model has come into the place because of the evolved action was the cost innovation, the value planning. As I said, the change management has been done fast. Alternate supplier approval has been done fast. Alternate material has been approved fast. The cost innovation has come into the place. And as I said, the validation also done at the supplier end. This has really helped to overcome the approval period and all those learning to correct the defects. So that has given a cost innovations, and those have been without sharing. OEMs have accepted, or somewhere it is shared for the new products, but it has helped to resilience building, protecting the margin, and reducing the uh, unavailability or shortages of the material to the industry. The industry innovation also has happened. The supplier has started coming forward that this product means I would like to do more. You can buy this from the other. So like OEM is to buy one product from both the companies to the SOB level 60-40%. They started buying one product from one industry 100%, so that they did not to change their line and maximum output comes, and other product from the other industry. The product mix has been changed. So this was never accepted by the OEMs in the interest of auto component industry. There's a cultural change has come as the innovation in auto component industry. They have become a flexible. The process has become flexible, and the diversification of portfolio has been happened because the value addition proposal also has come. If you are supplying a fork, you supply us the reflector also. You just put a reflector on that, because we'll not put the reflector at other place. You let it come with the fork. So like that, the any additional operation which is non-critical, that has been offered to the tier twos and tier threes, and that has been changed their product mix. The service innovation I already discussed, so we did not to discuss. We are at 8 o'clock and 5. I think another 5-10 minutes we can run for, sir, or we should run through fast.
Maybe 5 minutes should be good.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So these innovation models has been evolved as a need of a situation, and this pandemic has made auto component industry to rethink their business model and do the business process engineering and come to the lean and more effective model as a long term. And all those learnings will be carried forward by the industry, and they will be shared across the industry, because any learning first come to the auto industry and those go uh, to the entire industry. So these all 10 models I think will become very popular across the industry, and industry will use this. Coming to the purchasing input, I have already discussed the alternate material, source locations, then process improvement and automations, then alternate processes, elimination and yield improvement. That has been done by the sourcing team. The sourcing has been made more effective. Supply chain has become a lean. The import substitutes has been done, and the purchasing has contributed to the great extent in this pandemic situation. Although there are more challenges we are faced by the supply chain, the supply chain has given the greater output and the greater contribution to reduce the impact in auto industry. How it has been done? That has been done by the forming the team, CFT. People came forward. There was input from the customer, input from the suppliers, input from the across the functions in the industry. Every department is to contribute to other department. R&D is to come forward to check and approve the alternate material. Quality used to check and give the reports in time. So there's a better teamwork has been happened across the industry. This is a good learning that during the crisis, the team come together and they perform better. This has been learned during the COVID by the auto industry, and this is a I think 20th point, I'm explaining you what the corrective measure come as a learning during the pandemic to overcome the situation. The one of the great thing has happened is the great teamwork has happened and team has come forward to help each other. The department never used to meet every day and talk to each other virtually because it's not necessary to travel and go on virtual platform. Everybody used to meet, explain his problem and whatever best solution has been given, and cross-functional teams operated with the good thing. The next important thing that happened was the relationship. The entire auto industry and supply chain work with the relationship, and that relationship only give the confidence and give the confidence about the next day demand and next day production and the next month production and the year-on-year production profitability, protecting the business and about the business model. The communication has improved, the transparency has improved, and that has helped in building the resilience. The relationship has been definitely strengthened and developed. So the relationship building has been happened as the resilience building process, and it has become more vigilant, more cooperative, and more transparent in the auto industry because it was required, like confirming of the exact demand, then understanding the availability, then meeting the demand and giving the delivery. This used to happen automatically every day for every product and every delivery. So the relationship also has been improved due to the pandemic because this was a need of the time. The As I said, everything is going good, but everybody has to be vigilant and assess. So the risk management also has been reviewed by the auto component industry. The financial strength of the suppliers assessed and necessary help has been given. The necessary corrective actions were done. Then effectiveness of the working also has been considered. Any risk of non-delivery or quality has been assessed by the auto component industry by doing the virtual audit, and all those risks were de-risked by mutually working together with relation, sharing it transparently, seeking the help and taking the help and helping each other. The cooperation has happened to the great extent, and risk has been mitigated by industry itself by helping each other and sharing the risk, because you can find out your own solution, take the responsibility, but others can definitely help you in correcting your risk to certain extent. So that has been done. The risk mitigation has happened to the great extent. As I explained in the case of corona cases handling and all, the risk mitigation has been done by OEM with the auto component industry and tier 2 and tier 3 very well by the industry. And the learnings has helped industry to improve their value. There are 3 or 4 ways how value has been improved. So the these I tried to explain. I'll explain one. By adding some cost, you can improve your performance. So that also has been learned by the industry. Even if some freight as a premium freight need to be addressed, or some higher material cost is needed, that is a lower cost, because even if you are adding the cost, but you are performing, you are maintaining the service level, and your entire cycle is running, and you are creating a confidence in the system. So by adding the cost also, industry was improving. That was one of the example has been experienced by the industry as a learning, that you add cost time being, but on a long run you are improving your performance and maintaining your service level. Going forward, there are many learnings I already explained during the discussion, how transformation has happened, learning from the customer and learning from the environment, learning from the government and learning from the suppliers. The transforming has been done and processes were in control. Safety measure has been learned to the great extent. The digitization also has been initiated. The speed of digitization has happened to the great extent, and that has been integrated with the customers. And the customer systems have been integrated with the supplier system, and entire supply chain has been integrated. The technologies have been shared, and the new business model come as the innovation measures in the system. I think due to the pandemic situation, all those situations are challenging. We are better prepared for now wave uh, than wave 1 to wave 2, and from wave 2 to wave 3. If you see in the wave 1, there were major lockdown and for longer time. There was smaller lockdown during the wave 2, and wave 3, I think there is no lockdown required. We are taking care of the safety, and industry will continue to learn. With this, I would like to express my sincere thanks to eGrowth platform for giving me the opportunity to share my experience. Before closing, I would like to say that in the pandemic situation, in the supply chain, till that time it was known that customer is God, and but entire supply chain, every member is God and every member is required. That has been learned, and customer also started understanding that his supplier is also God. and there is the major confidence has come in the system. Collectively, we are overcome the pandemic and we are meeting the situation and meeting the demand without compromising quality. I think good days are going to come and growth will be there. We'll be back to the 11% plus GDP again, because our population is active, young, and we are going to consume the things. We are going to buy the things. Government is successful in creating confidence by vaccination, and we all will have good days. Thank you for patient listening. And anybody can add anything I have not covered or new to this, so that I can share with others. Thank you, Professor, once again, and thank you the dignitaries and online people for patient listening.
Thank you very much, Sanjay sir. It was an excellent inputs to all the industry, rather I'll say. Though it was specifically mentioned for the auto component manufacturing industry or auto industry, but the measures which you have taken were common for the industry as such. So I'm very sure the participants must have taken the note of the corrective measures which industry has taken, and the way in which it was explained, it was very simple. And Sanjay sir, if you can just put off your presentation, that will be good. Yeah, thank you very much. So it was very informative, and the corrective measures which you had taken comparatively were very simple, very implementable to the other industries also, and I am sure there is a good takeaway from this today's session. We sincerely thank you for giving these inputs to industry from the eGrowth platform. So I'll hand over this session to Mr. Virendra Ingle for taking it forward for the question and answer session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Anand. Thank you, Mr. Sanjay. It was really excellent session, and there are a lot of inputs which probably every industry can actually, take a lot of inputs from there and implement. I understand the situation was really very difficult, and you must have, or all industrialists must have taken a lot of efforts to, managing that change. So I will take questions one by one. For you. So can I request everyone to raise their hand? So I have Mr. Rajesh Udraja. If you can just, ask your question, please.
Yep. Thanks, Virendra. Sanjay ji, I must say, a very excellent presentation. And I've been associated with the auto and the auto component industry for the last 25 years. And I know the pains and challenges the industry is currently facing. But I must say the pandemic has probably done something great for the industry also. This kind of a presentation one wouldn't have seen maybe 3 years ago. So I think a lot of thinking has gone behind, largely to sustain first, to stay overboard. So a lot of these things are, to some extent futuristic, that way forward, what do we do? I have a few questions. One is, let's say there are technologies, like you mentioned some technologies also, which can improve your operations. Let's say there is an energy saving system which needs an investment. Now, if you're putting up a greenfield project, you need to put option A or option B. Option A is less efficient, option B is more efficient. So the only difference is difference of investment of the two and the ROI on that. But let's say in a current scenario, if you have an inefficient system already running, replacing of that 100% with something different is a new investment. So obviously the ROI is going to be a little more. So let's say there's any technology which can give you as a replacement an ROI of say a little over a year. Is that something which is going to attract the industry? Point one. Point two is, if industries may not want to invest in these, I remember my good old days in Thermax, we used to have systems which were energy conservation systems, which used to be given 100% depreciation by the government. So can the industry approach the government saying any inefficient systems, if we replace with efficient, can you give us some tax shelter or some tax benefit? That's my first question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Let me share my experience or whatever I know little on this background. There's a capex model and there's a opex model.
Yes.
You are aware of. Now the new energy systems like solar, if you give your place or roofs, they are in good condition and the structure is well. You need not to invest. You can have a opex model, the operating cost, and with that there will be some benefit, and there will be a 10 years contract. And after 10 years, the entire system becomes yours. So you need not to invest. Only give your vertical space available at your end and have agreement with the firm. And opex model can definitely work. Second is alternate source of energy. Like MSME has got the cost of say 10 rupees per unit, but there are alternate energy supply they can give at 9 rupees also. Those also are available. Third is like whatever the fuels you are using, looking at the fuel cost and the arrangements, you can always go on changing the fuels, and you can partly use some of the energy and partly use the other energy also. That combination of energy also can be done. But let us have a look at how you are managing and controlling your losses. That will give us a first level saving. Like every day saying the power factor and maintaining it and taking to the next level, losses of the power. As I said, instead of working in 3 shifts, work in 2 shifts only if you are taking desired output. 1 shift is saved. Instead of working across the year or across the month, you reduce your working to the 20 days, 10 days you are able to save, because you should know the demand, your output, and your software should help you okay, how much energy is required to those many produce. There is a law that work expand to fill the time. So there is the same law in finance also. So if you are not controlling anything, the wastage will continue. So let us control those wastages also. So my answer to you is in three. You first make whatever you got efficient, use OPEX model if wherever possible, then go for an alternate source. And out of these three, when you come to a good investment level and ROI is there, you can go for your own investment.
Yeah. The second just thought I had is, see, all auto manufacturers every year come out with new models, and all they change is some looks. Let's say the look of a headlamp or the look of something else.
Yeah.
And that puts a pressure on the component supplier to develop new dies, for the headlamp. The old die becomes redundant. So I'm just giving a very elementary example.
Yeah.
Can the auto industry not come together and say for next 2 years, till we come out of this, we will not come up with new models, because transportation vehicle is for mobility. So whether you have a X headlamp or a Y headlamp, is going to reach you the same place in the same time. So just like you were saying, collaborations, joint ventures, etc., can't auto industries collaborate together and say moratorium on new models for next 2 years? So, let's use whatever we have right now.
Yeah, actually, this is happening to the certain extent, but definitely this is a problem. But I would like to give an example that, like the auto OEMs, they have started sharing their lines and they are sharing the technology also. Like Mahindra has got learning from the Toyota, and even on the uh, we were at Aurangabad, the Skoda was a Czechoslovakian company. Then Volkswagen used to manufacture their vehicles on their line, and later on they acquired that company. So even the entire line has been spared on the same line it has been
Yes, I know.
manufactured. But coming to the model change and all that, that is required because the choice of customer is changing, and the what has happened, everything, everybody want a new every time, so something new they have to make. The greatest change costing auto industry is the engine, so they doesn't touch to the engine, but cosmetic changes all happen. But definitely costs are addressed. But auto component manufacturer, they have to find out their own way for flexible manufacturing, for developing the prototype, using the tools. Many things can be commonized within the tools also. Like your pillar and die set can be common. There can be a standard spares available. Your press machine fixing and the dowels can be common. Only die and punch set can be replaced, and those also can be manufactured by the software designs and design inputs, taking first time right. So, and that cost can be definitely addressed. If you take a proper cost, see, you say, my die set I will not change. My machine I am not changing. I am only changing the two inserts and punch and die. Address my that cost, amortize it over some period and give me some amount. Definitely, the auto industry is ready to support that. But changes are required from the customer choice and the requirement. Unless you put a change, the same thing doesn't move.
Yeah,
The way Nano has been launched and the Nano has been removed, but later on all small car comes and they are running.
Yes. One last question is, you said the weakest link in the entire supply chain is the most important link. Now, larger ancillary units, maybe with a turnover of 500, 1,000 or 2,000 crores, probably have earned a lot and they can kind of put their resources back. But smaller OEs, smaller ancillary units are literally living hand to mouth. And without them, again, the final product is not going to come out. So how is the industry supporting these smaller ancillary units?
Actually, this was a really problem in the Indian industry, although the Japanese industry having a very long-term contract with the suppliers and the agreements in place and all. So in the agreement itself, the provision of coming out of the agreement or even the helping packages and all, everything has been available. In the Indian industry, except government or banks, nobody generally come forward to help industry to come out of the crisis. To the certain extent and manageable thing, customer will try as a primary interest, but as long as they are able to develop second to the, if they will support to the extent of lead time developing a new source and thereafter they will not support. So this is happening in Indian industry. So you have to make your contract and you have to assess your risk with the supply chain continuously. So the risk mitigation is coming up as a new area in auto industry. That is, new department is coming. The even middle-sized companies are having the position up to senior manager level risk mitigation and structures are available. And those all risks, one of the supply chain is one of the risks that has been assessed. So the suppliers are evaluated by the third party also for their credit rating and their financials. Ratio analysis and all has been shared, and accordingly the decision is made. And instead of depending upon single source, the multi source is always kept by the industry to mitigate their own interest. And the auto component manufacturer also de-risking their own customer, because tomorrow Honda doesn't run this model and I'm only for that supplier. So they are also going with equal capability to another customer. So the suppliers are de-risking customer by adding customer, and customers are adding supplier by de-risking the existing supplier. So these are continuous process happening. Whenever risk arises, everything happens with very good speed, and the lead times are reduced and things takes place.
Viren, can I ask one last quick question?
Okay. No
Okay.
You're
You were
eating into my
mentioning
sales
that-
time.
Yeah, you were mentioning OEs have kind of considered escalations. I know for sure I've been in the contracting business for HVAC. Steel used to be about 55 rupees a kg. It is touching 100 rupees a kg.
Yeah.
GI sheets.
Yes.
So somebody as an HVAC contractor who's taken a contract in an auto ancillary or an OE company, none of these companies are giving any escalations. And you were earlier at 55 rupees, now you are 100 rupees. So, at vaguest of thoughts, you can't make money out of that. You're going to lose heavily. And they're not giving any escalations. So how does one, people who are stuck with these kind of contracts, how do they come out? I mean, some of them are raising their hands where the risk is too high. They are saying, fine, get it done from someone else. We're just wanting to back out. Now, there are some industries which have firm escalation clause. Like we used to make boilers, we used to have a escalation clause. In HVAC, there is no escalation clause. So, these kind of things are going to keep coming up. But when you are, auto industries always work on cost plus. I remember Maruti gives to all the vendors cost plus. So when that cost suddenly shoots up, the plus is not there at all. It says cost minus. So what kind of a formula needs to be evolved where everybody survives?
Actually, as you said, some of the industry, they got an escalation clause. But before that, actually, I would like to share with you that where you are escalating, how you are escalating, and how transparent you are in escalating. That is very important. If you are going to a lower level person, definitely he will defer that. If you go to the next level, he will understand and give. But if you say you cannot survive and this is required, and why this is required and it is only for transparently for a short period. In auto industry, what happens? So like in case of steel, like OEMs make a contract with Jindal Steel, say you deliver 1,000 ton to this XYZ company, and Jindal say delivers only 900 ton, 100 is a short. Out of that 100, 50% he consumes out of industry, and if he goes to the OEM, he look, this 40 ton I have purchased instead of Jindal rate of 80 at 90, this 10 rupees is the impact. How much you can support me now, or can I amortize it over a period? Or instead of reducing scrap rate, don't reduce my scrap rate, but let me come out of this. So this type of dialogue has to happen, and it has to be for a limited quantity. One point. Second point is that before happening itself, you share the quotation. You say, I don't have material. I am getting this material. Can you arrange the material from somewhere else so that I can produce? So escalate this to the senior most level. So both these things will definitely help.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So thank you very much. I think there are no further questions today. Mr. Ahuja raised the hand, but now he's, I think, not there. So anyone else, if you have any questions, can ask.
No, I am here, but my questions are taken care of by Rajesh. So I withdrawn my hand.
No problem. So, right. So thank you very much. I will now request Mr. Atul Puri to say a few words and introduce about others about eGrowth.
Thank you. So one of the things what Mr. Rajesh just asked, whether the industry can come together. A couple of examples is just yesterday I was out on the street and I saw a car called Urban Cruiser by Toyota, which essentially is a rebranded Breeza from Suzuki. Similarly, they also have another Toyota product called Glance, which essentially is a Baleno by Suzuki. I think this is something which the industry is taking up. Earlier, we've had such collaborations at the engine level. So maybe we had the Fiat engine, which went into the Tata Indica, Tata Indigo, also went into the Suzuki Brezza, not Brezza, this one. Yeah, even Brezza was a Fiat engine. So I think there's a lot of development which has been happening. My small question, Sanjay ji, I would ask you later on. I'll just leave you with the question and I'll maybe have a conversation later on this. Is that how do we take these learnings outside of the auto industry and to those people who are running their own independent businesses? Because all this development which you've captured so very well, this is courtesy the OEM who has spent so much money or who has so much money power to invest in that, and then by virtue of them running their business, they don't have too much of a choice but to support their supporters. So we'll take this question offline, but just I'd love to listen more about it. Yeah, and thanks a lot for coming here. Sure. The purpose of eGrowth is to bring small businesses together, help them grow their business together. So as I said just before we started, that when we look at the larger businesses, the Tata, Birla, Ambani, Adanis, and the Toyotas and the Suzukis and the likes or Fords of the world, they've got enough money and resources to do whatsoever they want. When it comes to a small business owner, he does not have that flexibility, but he has the same challenges what a large business has. So we were looking at how is it that we can be a part of the solution rather than being a part of the problem. So with this in mind, we started working on the eGrowth, wherein we work on three elements: collaboration, excellence, and opportunities. Collaboration is all about bringing business owners together. Excellence is about taking your business to the next level. So all the excellence that you spoke about today, that was an excellence which was primarily funded by the OEM. We are talking about excellence which gets created by virtue of coming together with the major resources that we have. And the third piece is opportunities. How do we look at more opportunities? So maybe opportunities to expand to newer geographies. We've got more than 250 countries. How about reaching there? And how about coming together? So this is what we've been doing at eGrowth. And the kind of knowledge that you shared in the past 1.5 hour now, this in a management college would have cost us maybe 1 lakh rupees, any one of us. So I would in fact like everybody who's present right now to just clap your hands. You need not unmute yourself. So this is something what is available to you if you associate with this ecosystem. Resources like Mr. Sanjay Sanghai, and if you see our videos for past couple of weeks, each one of them is a diamond. I would not even say diamond, a Kohinoor in terms of the knowledge. I actually, when I was in the corporate space, we would never really respect the operations or maybe the purchase guys. Today, I must tell you, sir, with your conversation, my respect for this particular professionals has gone up at least tenfolds. So thank you for really putting things in perspective so much. And my invitation to all of you is to consider joining eGrowth. We've got an online platform, egrowth.org. We've got an app. You can download it from the App Store or from the Play Store. We also have a structure called eGrowth Inner Circle, wherein we invite curated business owners who have businesses which have a pan-India appeal or a global appeal and are willing to contribute to others along with building their own business. So if you are interested, please drop in a line. Please reach out to Mr. Anand Pol, reach out to any one of us, and we'll be glad to support you on that. That's a little bit. And thanks a lot, Anand sir, for really putting in this effort and identifying people who can make so much difference to the business owners at large.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Atulji.
I request Anandji to please, with the closing.
Yes. Thank you very much, Virenji and Atulji. As the practice of token and the appreciation to the guest who has delivered his thoughts today, and it's not thought, it was an innovation to come out of the problems, challenges which industry has faced in common. We have already shared the expert talk, certificate of appreciation to Sanghai sir. Mr. Atul, if you have that on your laptop, can you just share it on the...
Sure. Just give me a moment while you...
please.
Yeah.
So, I sincerely thank Sanghai sir for accepting our request to be on the platform. And the subject which was chosen by Mr. Sanghai was not only in the interest of the auto industry, auto component industry, but it was in the interest of every individual, even to the service providers. So we sincerely thank you for the time which you have spent with us and the interest which you have shown to share the knowledge which you have experienced during last 1.5 years or so. That is one part. Similarly, I thank all the guests and similarly all the participants on the platform today for joining us. And sincerely, as Mr. Atul Puri has expressed, I request all of you to join eGrowth platform and strengthen it for collaborative activities in future also. So this is the certificate of appreciation which has been shared to Mr. Sanghai for the strategies executed by auto component industry pre and post COVID. It was a knowledge session which he has shared with us today. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you very much, Sanghai sir. And I'm sure I'm very sure we'll be in touch with each other in future also. And we expect eGrowth. Some people, I'm sure you'll permit me to share your mail ID as well as your number to the participants today, so that in case if they need some suggestions, advice from you, so they'll be able to communicate with you directly.
Sure. For some, I'll share to you. You can share with everybody.
Yes.
My official email ID is Sanghai, SANGHAI @endurance.co.in.
Okay.
So this is my official email ID.
Yeah, and your phone number is available with me.
Yeah.
I'll share with the group so
Yeah,
that
sure.
those who need to contribute or they need to seek your advice in their difficulties, they'll be able to talk to you directly or mail you directly.
Sure, it is my pleasure.
Yeah, please. Thanks. Anything more, Atulji?
Thanks a
No,
lot.
sir.
I think it has been a really, really energizing session today. And
Thank
we
you very much.
never,
Thanks all.
I'm sure none of us looked at any industry in this depth in such a short while ever. Yeah. Virendra, you were saying something?
I was just saying thank you to Mr. Sanjay. I request Anandji and even if Amit is there, so we can just chat for 5 minutes more. I have some few things to discuss.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
I think
everyone.
Amit is not there, but yes, we can definitely speak.
I will take you.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, Virendra, you want to say
So
something?
maybe we can connect later on because there are participants and we can discuss it. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. And good night.